Back again for some NBA chatter. They said, hey, there's a Cat 5 hurricane coming your way. And I said, I'm not prepping. I'm talking NBA. Specifically, I'm going to break down the Indiana Pacers today.
I mean, listen, I'm glad your priorities are focused in the right place. I'm also like, you and I talked a little bit about or off mic before this. So Hurricane Milton, which is now just rapidly intensified from a category 1 to a category 5 in one day. Jacksonville is for sure going to feel it a little bit, but this is a big deal for Tampa, who didn't quite get Asheville level of destruction the way Helene did. We're like, obviously just devastated Western North Carolina, and prayers to everybody up there. That's still our buddy John up there has been kind of giving us the recap on the ground, and it's not good, to say the least.
No.
Obviously you're still down in Florida. You've been there longer than I have. I mean, you're going on 15 years almost in Florida at this point. I was there for 9, and I'll tell you what, the vibe is different, because normally Floridians are cracking jokes. Nobody is cracking jokes right now. People are like rightfully worried, and I'm praying that this doesn't devastate Tampa, and I mean, really anywhere along the western Gulf Coast of Florida, the way that it sure looks like it's going to.
Well, not only that, like the hurricane's named Milton. There's so many Office Space jokes that could be made off the character Milton. And like you said, nobody's making them because we kind of know what it is at this point. Like Tampa, I'm imagining this episode kind of gets released after everything. So you probably know from the news what's going on. But like, put it this way. I have 3 coworkers that I work very closely with in Tampa, one of which lost his whole house in the last storm. That is nowhere a direct hit like this one's supposed to be.
Yeah.
My other coworker had ankle deep water in their house, and the other one didn't have to evacuate at all. The one that wasn't impacted at all has already evacuated. The other one's leaving to go to Melbourne. And the last one, we've only texted a little bit, and they weren't really sure what was going to be going on their end. Because again, we're all in radio. We're supposed to stay back and broadcast or do our best to report on the storm. So there is a level of like, you kind of feel responsible that you kind of have to like stay back and help out and do stuff. And luckily with my new position, I don't have to do that as much. I'm more of the back end. Like I'm essentially setting up like, even in Jacksonville, we don't know, like St. Johns County is where it's supposed to get bad for us potentially. Maybe even a little bit of Palatka like we were talking about. But like, the back end is like, I've got in touch with some ice places and some, trucks that could help me go pick those up. And I've got a generator ready that has 4 outlets that I've done the math. I can get like 32 phones plugged in off those 4 outlets as long as the generator doesn't conk out on me. So it's like, we're ready to roll. I kind of hope all that work was for nothing, which is a weird vibe in itself. But yeah, man, the vibe down here right now is not great. And even on the back end where the meteorologists kind of, obviously on TV, they say the worst so that you're prepared for the worst, so that if it does happen, you're prepared. And if not, they just get mad at you. Yeah, they're not even talking in that now. Like the meteorologists are not talking like that. The meteorologists are pretty much saying like, when this happens, this is what it's going to do. We have ideas. I think it's going to go straight up I-4 and hit, essentially Tampa, Orlando, Daytona, and just absolutely rock the whole state essentially.
Yeah, it's Floridians, like you said, there's a lot of joking usually when hurricanes come. The temperature is noticeably different this time around. And like you said, I hope that none of that back end prep that you has to do actually has to come to fruition. But I do think we're at the point where it just is going to.
From my buddy in Tampa that I work with daily. For me personally, with this storm, I have literally no possessions left to lose from the last storm. It's kind of a weird thing to look at, but I wouldn't be surprised if insurance totals my house after this one. Especially as for St. Pete specifically, I think the storm might wipe it off the map. It's real crazy here. I'm 100% evacuating. It's unimaginable the kind of eeriness knowing that everybody in Tampa is feeling right now. I can't even imagine. I'm just going to go stay with my dad and try to forget about it for a few days.
Yeah, and that's the it's the good and the bad with the hurricane, right? Like the good news with a hurricane is unlike a tornado or unlike an earthquake or unlike a volcano erupting, like it's probably not just going to happen out of the
You
sky. Like,
notice it happens faster than others, but you get
well, you
notice.
get warning, like you can get yourself out of harm's way. But yeah, it's an eerie, like you said, it's an eerie feeling when you're right. You leave Tampa right now, or you leave any of these areas, and you leave knowing, hey, it's probably going to be gone or forever, like reshapen when I get back. I mean, insurance down there has been a mess. This is not a Florida politics podcast, but like that's been one of the bigger issues down there recently has been insurance has just gone through the roof as these storms have escalated to the point where, people don't have insurance or they're paying quadruple times the premium. And then you have a storm like this that plows into a major city like Tampa.
It's bad, man.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, Tampa is, I don't think it's bigger than the Miami metro area, but it's number 2 at the smallest. Like it's definitely bigger than Orlando. Jacksonville is the most people in it, but the Jacksonville metro area is smaller than Tampa because, like you said, with St. Pete, with like Bradenton and places like that.
I would go as far to say if you made me pick my favorite city in Florida, it probably would be Tampa.
I like Tampa a lot too. I've only had good experiences in Tampa. Been there for spring training. Been there for my buddy at a bachelor party.
The red tide's a little weird, man. Like,
well, yeah, that's a whole different issue. But that was everywhere. It's super gross.
I know. It's like the Gulf is kind of where it is, but like that's just a weird. Like, let's not do that. That's my thought there. So, if you didn't know what we did in the last episode of the Drive and Dish NBA podcast, we spun our NBA wheel to find out which teams we would have to do a book report on. Kevin got the Clippers. I got the Indiana Pacers. 2 teams that I feel like both of us don't really care about that much. Like I genuinely do not care about the Pacers.
TJ McConnell's on the Pacers. That's your boy.
That's quite literally the only reason I care about the Pacers,
Yeah.
Like Lance Stevenson was cool.
You got no love for Hallie. You got no love for. I'm trying to think who else has been there. It's been
Miles Turner, Evan Turner was there.
Oladipo had his best year of his career there.
Was there? Yeah. So, do you just want me to dive into Pacers first? Then we'll just do Pacers book report right off the rip.
Yeah, I think that'll be good. You'll do Pacers, and then I'll do my Clippers report, and that'll be because in this episode we're going to talk about the Western Conference as a whole. So I feel like doing Clippers last will be a good little teaser before the break to get some Western Conference stuff in. So why don't you what's going on with Indiana, Justin? We talked about him a few weeks ago, but let's get the deep dive.
So Pacers, right? Went 47 wins last year. I would say one of the surprises potentially of the season last year. They played in a championship game, to clarify, the in-season tournament game.
Yep.
Lost to the Lakers, but went further than the Lakers in the NBA actual playoffs. So played more games than most teams in the NBA last year. It also was the arrival of Hallie, like you said. A big year for him, all NBA player. I believe he was the assist leader for the season, and obviously Olympian over the summer. They did, in the middle of the season, go and get Pascal Siakam. And I say all this stuff because over the summer, it was relatively quiet in terms of moves they were making. They pretty much chose chemistry over trying to acquire more talent. With that, the priority was retaining Siakam, which we knew was going to be the case when they brought him in. He had a weird situation where essentially Siakam had all the leverage, but they were able to do that. So good for him. And then some of the other guys got some short extensions as well, kind of keep the core intact. That being said, the core intact. Offense, phenomenal. Defense,
maybe. Left a bit to be desired, for sure.
Yeah, and honestly, you find it hard to potentially have. You find it hard to make an argument for them to win the whole thing with the defense being not so great, and now having the East the way the East is, that being the Celtics, the Knicks, the 76ers in that order. Mm-hmm. And so is their season or is their ceiling a 4 seed in the East and maybe you get yourself 3 more wins and finish a 50-game season? Probably. Probably that's where it is if we're being genuinely honest. But you do have a great starting core of Hallie, Siakam, Miles Turner. You got TJ McConnell there, who I would be remiss to not mention. So I think the overall vibe of the Pacers is the offense is amazing. Can Hallie continue the growth that we saw last year? And can they address some potential defensive problems in the middle of the season? Because if they can address that with a league leading offense, you might be onto something there.
Yeah, I think the biggest point which you brought up is that their difficulty, if there is one, is that it's going to be it's going to be because the rest of the conference got better, forgive me. With the Sixers, with the Knicks, with the Celtics just completely running it back. Like you can argue the Cavs got better, you can say the Magic got better. Like we're not going to do the whole Eastern Conference dive right now, but like that's a tough ask to go back for the Pacers, and you hope this team didn't hit their ceiling. Definitely got to improve defensively. Agree with that, no question there. At the same time, you got a superstar breakout from Hallie last year. I would like to see him specifically at points in the game. You know, one of his strengths is that he gets his teammates so involved, right? Like he just is, always has high assist numbers among league leaders pretty consistently. But I want to see him kind of take over games at times too. I feel like at points at the end of games last year, he got a little bit deferential. It's like, hey, be the superstar, be that guy, Hallie. That's specifically for him, but the big question, obviously, when you go out and get Siakam is, are you going to get him locked up? They did that, got him signed to a long-term deal, so that's huge. A lot of their depth, I like a lot still. Naismith played well for them. Obi Toppin played well for them. Matthew Urin played well for them. Even a guy like Andrew.
And Matthew Urin, we should say, had that injury towards the end of the season. So,
yeah.
Can you build on it? Obviously, show that you're not injured anymore or dealing with that injury, or that injury is not going to hinder you anymore. Because, I would say was having a really good, I actually had the thing here. So, as a rookie, 16.7 points per game, 14 off the bench.
Yeah.
You look to see the build off that.
And it's always interesting too, because like we said, just the piece almost, if you will, that with Miles Turner, like with not being in the trade rumors 24/7, being able to slide into a role there, that paid benefits for them big time as they got to the conference finals. We don't need to recap the conference finals. Like we know what it was disappointing for them in the regards, not just they lost, but the way that they lost it and feeling like you left a lot on the table. But I mean, Indy's going to be competitive. Like I think this team is for sure locked to make the playoffs. In terms of regular season wins, like you said, I'm kind of around like a 3, 4, 5, 6 range if everything goes right. But I'm not gonna, don't sleep on this team either. Like, we talk about them going to the conference finals last year. And I think a lot of times the question is, was it a flash in the pan? Can they do it again? At the same token, it's like, hey, that's extremely valuable experience. And as you get late into games against teams that may not have necessarily been there before in the current version of themselves, like I think that has the potential to pay dividends as well. So I don't want to downplay that.
Who out of the 3 teams, I'm going to exclude the 76ers out of this just because they changed their team a lot. Pacers, Orlando, Cleveland. Those would be the next 3 after the top dogs in the East.
Yeah.
Who do you have the most faith in?
Ooh, good one. I feel like I should say Indy because they've gone the furthest, but I'm a big Orlando stockholder, and I think Banchero is going to break out a little bit. Yeah, listen, I believe in Banchero and Franz. I believe in Jalen Suggs a lot. Cleveland is tough for me because every time I have faith in them, they just go around and kind of have an unserious playoffs a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I also think they could look different as well, or they have the potential out of any of these teams to look the most different in the sense that, if they decide to move Jared Allen, I don't necessarily think that's a good idea. I like him kind of playing with Mobley still. The bigger question for me still is what's going on with Darius Garland? Like, you got the Donovan Mitchell question answered, which is huge for them. And I do think, even last year, Donovan showed what he can do come playoff time. We know what he is, but I need Cleveland's young guys to show me something. Like, I feel like we've anointed Evan Mobley and Darius Garland and all these other guys, and they haven't taken that leap yet, the way where I feel like Orlando's guys are about to take that leap. So it sounds weird because they've won the most games, I think, in the regular season out of these three teams that we're mentioning in the past few years, but they've left me disappointed come playoff times, where it's like with Indy again, already in the conference finals. Orlando may be more of an approve-it mode. And like we said, maybe I'm a little biased there as well going Homer, but I have big faith in Banchero this season. I think he's going to break out and become a national guy.
Okay. Yeah, for reference, the Cavs had 48 wins, Orlando and the Pacers and the 76ers had 47 wins, and the Heat had 46. So
all three of those teams, and including the Heat, actually there too, like they can all get feisty in the playoffs. Just because I'm sold on this top three, and I think Boston is the number one still, but like none of these teams are slackers to me. And there are paths that are open to varying degrees of them getting into the conference finals, of maybe them messing around and win the East. I don't know if I'm quite going that far, but
I know we kind of, are supposed to do our East breakdown next episode, so we can kind of stop after this. But you look at it, the top four in theory is going to be some version of Boston, New York, Milwaukee, 76ers. So then you're looking at 5, 6, 7, 8, some version of Cleveland, Orlando, Indiana, Miami. And that's after that, what are we doing? But that does mean 2, maybe 3 of those end up in a play-in tournament, which is wild to think about.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, we'll save the full depth, but I think the East, I don't know, their top 8 isn't really going to move, in my opinion, too much. And so that'll help. But I mean, 2 of them are going to be fighting for play-in spots, and it can get weird. That's really all it comes down to, is it can get weird when you're fighting in that play-in spot. All right, so my book report, let's go out west here a little bit for the Clippers, who obviously this is a big season of change for the Clippers going into the offseason. Losing Paul George, of course. Other key departures for the Clips, though, beyond PG. Russell Westbrook is gone to Denver. Mason Plumlee is gone. Daniel Tice is gone. Brandon Boston Jr. is gone. Big additions for them. They brought in Derrick Jones Jr. from Dallas. Nick Batum is back in the area. Obviously, we know a guy that I have much reverence for. Chris Dunn is there. Kevin Porter Jr., Mo Bamba, Cameron Christie. 51 and 31 last year for the Clippers. They lost to the Mavericks in the first round in 6 games. A little bit like the Pacers, like you said, in the offense versus defense. They're 4th overall in offensive rating, but 16th in defensive rating. But of course, this is a team that has had title expectations the past few years. As soon as you bring in Kawhi and PG, that's there. They never quite got to that point for a number of reasons, largely injuries, I would say, more than anything else. And I guess that's where you are if you're the Clippers, right? Is that this is a competitive Western Conference, but it feels like without Paul George that they're just not there for a title window right now. Like, this team just feels, a day late, a dollar short. I don't want to say you totally start rebuilding, but I mean, this has the potential to get ugly quite quick if Kawhi Leonard goes down. It's kind of ironic that it's this season as they, finally are in their own building in the new Intuit Dome, not sharing with the Lakers anymore. They've got a new logo, definitely a new energy around the squad, but it feels like we're going to be rebuilding here a lot sooner than later. And look, if Kawhi is healthy, I don't think they're about to fall off the cliff here exactly. They brought James Harden back, so he'll play a lot of the point guard role there. They're still really high on Terrence Mann. Zubats has a new contract. So I think this team is still going to be in play-in position or playoff position. I don't want to say play-in position, though they could very well end up slipping there. But it just certainly feels like they're a middle of the road Western Conference team right now. Like when I look at the top dogs of this conference, so we'll get into in a little bit, but when you look at the potential of a team like Oklahoma City, when you look at a team like Denver, still even with Dallas, with going to the playoffs last year, like it just feels like the Clips just don't have enough firepower to keep up, even with Kawhi now.
Because I feel like the Pacers are also a middle of the pack team.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think has a better season?
I think the Pacers have a higher ceiling, as crazy as that sounds, just because of like where the conference is. And I don't know. This Clippers team is a Kawhi, like I said, a Kawhi injury away from being kind of a train wreck pretty fast. Preview for later in the episode, you're going to talk about the PJ Tucker situation a little more in depth, but he's going to stay away from the team for a little bit. Again, a good team, not a great team. And that's just kind of it. Like, I feel like that's that's maybe I'm selling them short a little bit, but I mean, what exactly are we looking like? It's been, kind of, Harden is 35 at this point. I like Derek Jones Jr. as a complimentary piece. I like Nick Batum a lot. There's a big reason I wanted him back for the Sixers, but
it just feels like the window is so close to being closed.
Yeah. And that's kind of my point. Like the other reason that you might be optimistic about the Clippers is Ty Lue. I still love Ty Lue as a head coach. Like it feels like he'll get the most out of this roster. He'll really be able to, and that's why I have faith of them staying afloat. But, I don't know. Maybe Kevin Porter Jr. has obviously had a ton of off the court issues, but the potential is still there. Maybe he finally gets it together, and that would be a big piece for them. I don't know. Harden becomes that main offensive guy. I still like Zubac a lot. I don't know though. It's tough because again, if with Kawhi, with him not being able to play in the Olympics, like that's the prime example, right? With him having to then sit out that tournament, with how it's all ended these past few years. I don't mean this to sound doom and gloom, but it kind of is right now. Like it feels like we're just at the twilight with this team, and that they need to start, deciding what they're going to do moving forward. They absolutely, history is not going to be kind to them, given how SGA has developed and all the picks that they gave up, but it's that's just revisionist at this point. Like it was always the right decision to go for Kawhi Leonard and Paul George.
You gotta do it.
Unfortunately, just injuries happened. Injuries, among other things, happened, and it limited what this team could have been.
Yeah, I always feel like I never have full faith in the Clippers, just because I feel like, again, like you were saying, they're always an injury away, but they do have a team that can always be competent and at least get you in the playoffs regardless of that injury.
Yeah.
You just don't really go any further than that, I guess, is usually where it ends up. I feel like we're being super negative on both teams.
I don't feel like I'm as negative on Indy as much. I feel way more positive about Indy. I hope I didn't give that impression, but with the Clippers, it's just hard not to be. And I mean, Kawhi was at Kawhi, and I don't know if he did this on purpose, but like they interviewed him at camp the other day, and he's like, "Oh, what are you impressed about your new teammates?" And Kawhi's like, "I don't know, nothing really." And it's like, that does not feel good.
Nope. It's like, yo, Kawhi, you've been in the league long enough to know your media training, dog. Like you don't gotta be
like take the funk a little bit, buddy.
Yeah. So yeah, man, it's not great. But if there were to be an NBA player that would say that, it would be Kawhi.
Yeah, I mean, look, Kawhi is Kawhi. He's pretty blunt at this point. We know who he is, but I don't know. I mean, best case scenario for the Clippers, I'm trying to even think of like, I don't know if I have them at 4. I don't know. Maybe they're between 5 and 8, probably. I don't know. Like Phoenix is top heavy. We should save this for the rest of this, but
I feel like that's where we're gonna get into the whole combo of it all.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Welcome everybody to this episode of the Driving Dish NBA podcast. My name is Kevin Rafuse. Joining me as always, my co-host Justin Cousart.
Wow, that was surreal.
Oh my goodness, I have no idea. Do I have any context at all here?
It is a player that played the other night, and it was definitely talked about.
It was a player that played the other night. Okay. In
NBA.
what sport?
NBA.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, because they had the games over. I mean, they have had preseason going. They've had plenty of Abu Dhabi games.
Why think about why this player would think playing a preseason game would be surreal to him.
Oh, is this LeBron playing with Bronny? Okay, all right, that does make sense. Thank you. That was a very good clue.
Yeah.
Look, that is for all the Bronny stuff that we're gonna probably, unfortunately, have to talk about more than we should. Um, that is insane. Like the fact that LeBron has had a career this long, the fact that his son is on the floor in an NBA game, like that is pretty sweet, and I don't think we should take that for granted. Um, there will be plenty of moments like that throughout the season. But
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I mean, the fact that again, we've seen Bronny grow up as LeBron's career has gone on. Seen him at the Sierra Canyon games, the hype around there, like the fact that we're just now at a point where they're sharing a court together, like that was always, you know, you never want to talk about it because nobody wants LeBron to retire because he's such a force for the NBA, right?
mhm.
He's been such a big part of our lives in watching this sport for the past 2 decades. Like Bronny making the league was kind of when you said, oh, maybe that's the timeline here a little bit. Like maybe you want to do that, and then it starts to get real a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. The thing is, he's still obviously quite good. So it's not going to be from if he hangs it up, it's not going to be from lack of ability. You know what I mean?
No, and I feel like he probably has some like records in mind that he wants to make sure to lock in on his own before he hangs it up if he has any say in it, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, 100%. He's already got the biggest in the sense of the scoring title. Like
Mhm.
it doesn't get much bigger than breaking Kareem's scoring title. It's tough because like you would wonder if he's chasing championships still, right? But I'm also like this Lakers squad is obviously nowhere near it, as we'll get into, ready to contend for a title right now. Like you would think if Braun gets 5, the MJ discussion gets even hotter. Like that's the thing. It's already, it's already him and Mike for the top. If he starts adding a 5th or a 6th, especially this late into his career,
Well, and I guess
it would boost the resume to unbelievable levels, but at the same time, like I don't necessarily know that he's title chasing anymore.
I would also say there would be a level of his involvement in that title. You know what I mean? Like if LeBron's still the top scorer on the team and they go the whole way, yes. But if he's like, you know, got like 2 or 3 guys that are essentially getting him there and he's contributing, but he's not the number 1 guy, then I think those titles get used against him in that fact too, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's silly though. Like if you're almost 40 years old and you're contributing as a high level role player on a title team, I don't think that should knock you. Like I, at worst, LeBron is going to be what, a number 2, a number 3 option on a team that's contending for a title. Like it just doesn't feel like he's going to be in a position where,
Yeah.
he's getting it late in his career. You know what I mean? Where he's like
Yeah.
coming off the bench and giving you like 6 or 7 points a game. It
I don't
feels like if LeBron's in that territory, he's like 50.
that or he's gonna retire at that point.
Yeah, like it's just we're in unprecedented territory, but we all know that.
Yep.
Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. Or read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Player FM, anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find us.
And we are on YouTube. Search Drive and Dish NBA on YouTube. You can follow us there. We put video versions of the podcast out. And you can subscribe just like you can on your podcasting platform to get notifications when new ones come out.
And now a word from our sponsors.
So the Western Conference, let's dive down it real quick. Last year, it ended up OKC number 1. They were 57-25, tied with Denver, who was also 57-25 in the number 2 spot. Minnesota was 3 at 56 wins. Clippers, Dallas, Suns round out your top 6. The Pelicans, the Lakers, Sacramento Kings, Golden State Warriors, all in your play-in tournament. The Pelicans had 49 wins. Golden State Warriors had 46. For reference, outside of the playoffs, you had the Rockets, the Jazz, the Grizzlies, San Antonio Spurs, and the Portland Trailblazers. The the San Antonio Spurs, and the Portland Trailblazers, all the only teams, at least in the Western Conference, in the 20-win column.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't expect too much variation. There will be more in the West in the East, in my opinion. I do think you have the potential to see some shakeoffs playing wise. I mean, namely with Memphis, right? Like Memphis was due to injuries, due to John Morant's suspension,
Yep.
were just not in the playoff picture last year. I think most people rightly believe that that is going to change. But there are just other teams in the West that are more intriguing that may take the jump, right? Like you got to think San Antonio gets better with Wemby in year 2. Plus, with Chris
Mhm.
Paul down there, you would hope that that facilitates
And
his development.
it's worth mentioning, like we group that 4 or 5 teams in there: Rockets, Jazz, Grizzlies, San Antonio Blazers. But the Rockets had significantly more wins than the rest of that crew. Like
Mhm.
they were 500. They were
Yeah.
41 and 41. Like that's an even season. And we're talking about them missing the playoffs just because of how competitive the West is. But like 41 and 41 is a decent. That would have been a 9 seed in the East.
Yeah, no, they were competitive all year. I mean, they kind of fell off late, but it was a lot of the signings and the combo of young guys that they brought in, right? Like it's, a guy like Şengün taking a leap that happened a little bit last year. It's Jabari Green Jabari Green, excuse me, starting to get a little bit Jabari Smith, not Jabari Green. I don't know why I have Jabari Green in my head for some reason.
Jalen Green.
Jabari Smith, yes, thank you. I'm getting them combining them too. It's Jalen Green starting to or being more consistent in his scoring and just being able to get other guys involved like that. It is Jabari Smith taking the next few steps. It's Cam Whitmore, a guy who I really liked them drafting. I thought they got great value out of him there, showed a lot of flashes last year. Like I still think he can be a really solid NBA 3-and-D guy. They brought in Dylan Brooks. They brought in Fred VanVleet, who I mentioned a little bit earlier last season. Like now you've got Steven Adams coming off injury, but hopefully playing a little bit of a mentor role there as well.
Sengun's in there too, right?
Yeah, he's great. He's arguably like their most dependable prospect right now. Like I like Jalen Green a lot, and I think Jalen Green, especially from an offensive perspective, has given you a lot, but it felt like he's been a little bit of a gunner at points of his career. And so I guess that's why I'm a little more like higher on Şengün overall. But if Jalen Green can get efficient, like I do think that's a big boost for them. The question is, it's always tough with Houston because it's the question of, and then again, when you mention up Memphis, so like let's put those two teams still ahead of San Antonio for a little bit, but let's just say like Portland and Utah are going to be closer to the bottom, right? Like I don't think we have any doubt about that. So at that point, it's like who falls out? You start to look at like some teams that we like a lot, or that the casuals like a lot, right? Like it's going to be the Lakers and the Warriors. It feels like who are going to take the drop. Like the Warriors have made a few moves to kind of offset Clay a little bit. Like Buddy Hield going out and getting him was a solid
But
move, but
I think Clay going to Dallas with them already at 50 wins puts them above the Clippers, who I think objectively takes a drop.
yeah.
Dallas moves into the 4 seed where the Clippers are. I don't think it's too far out there to say Phoenix passes the Clippers.
Phoenix still off their top 3, assuming health will be there. I'm not like I don't know that they're a better team than the Clippers necessarily, but I'm still going to give KD and Booker the benefit of the doubt there, assuming they're healthy.
Are they a better team than the Pelicans, who tied them for the record?
I think they're close, and that's kind of my point. Like Pelicans are another one too, where it's again we're watching the injury. Like it's if Zion is there, but I love them getting DeJounte Murray. Like I think DeJounte Murray is going to be so crucial for the Pelicans at the end of games. And so if you're keeping Brandon Ingram, TBD, we know obviously he's a name that's been shopped a lot here.
Sacramento loaded up.
I like Sacramento with DeRozan a lot. Like that's kind of my point. Is it's like when who do you see drop? It is. I mean, it could very well be the Clippers too. Like we talked about, I said it a bazillion times in the book report, but it's like your Kawhi injury away from that team being, in my opinion, easily one of the worst in the conference. I think maybe you pump the brakes on the Spurs a little bit. They get better, but they're just a little bit outside right now.
Going from 22 wins to, I guess, 40, it would have to have been 47 wins to get in this year. That would be an insane jump.
Yeah, it would. I don't know, man. It could be the Lakers. As high as you still are on the duo of LeBron and AD, I don't know. The rest of that roster just it
Yeah,
really isn't that expiring. It doesn't looks like it's keeping up with the rest of them. I feel like the Warriors did a little bit of a better job of like kind of softening the blow a little bit. Like Basan's buddy, like getting Kyle Anderson, getting DeAnthony Melton.
Ben
Um,
Simmons.
wait, what?
Didn't Ben Simmons go there? Wasn't that a
What?
thing? I'm like almost positive of that.
Justin, Ben Simmons is in Brooklyn right now. What? You don't think we would have brought up that Ben Simmons got traded?
Maybe I fell for some Twitter bait.
You had to have fell for some Twitter thing because Ben Simmons is very much in Brooklyn right now.
Wasn't there a whole thing like Woj retired and Ben Simmons went to the Warriors?
No, what?
That?
No, I think you dreamed that because Ben Simmons is very much in Brooklyn camp, doing the whole media spin right now. Like we're all talking ourselves into Ben Simmons, but yeah, I have no idea where you got that from. I have no clue.
I don't know. I thought I had. Okay, well, whatever. We're good.
But no, with Wiggins, with Pods, like there's just reasons to think that the Warriors could be a little more competitive and stay around that play-in than you are with the Lakers right now. Like they could be the team I see dropping. So at that point, your top 8 is, or your top 10, I should say.
I did fall for a fake one. There's a story about it. Fake Ben Simmons Warrior trade goes viral after. Yep.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
at least it went viral. It wasn't some random one, I guess. OKC, Denver, Minnesota, Dallas, Phoenix, Pelicans, Kings, Warriors. And then if you bump the Rockets and you bump the Grizzlies in, that's probably where I'm at as your top 10. Like we can start, parsing that down a little bit. The Lakers and the Spurs are the most likely to get back in. The Clippers too, you could see being like right around that edge. Like the spot for the last 2 is going to be competitive. I just think like, I don't know. Sacramento got a lot better in my eyes. Like Dallas is still there. Minnesota, I do again, like we talked about last week. I think post Towns trade takes a hit, but I'm not about to suddenly think they're going to crater entirely.
No, because I think we talked about Randall. I think he essentially will fill a little bit of what they need, shooting wise, not so much, especially from the threes. But I don't think it's enough to hinder them. I just still can't believe the move itself. But I'm kind of with you. I want to put the Rockets and the Grizzlies back up there. More the Grizzlies and the Rockets than anything, but I feel weird taking anybody out other than saying a massive Clippers collapse just off injury.
So you know where I'm at, right? Or where this is kind of crazy overall, and I guess I'll test the waters on this. And last year, and again, I've said this before, so forgive me if I sound like a broken drum, but like last year, I was such a non-believer in Oklahoma City, and I thought they were going to be good, and I thought they'd be competitive, obviously, as they were, and they probably defied me a little bit, ending number 1 in the regular season overall. For as much doubt as I had in them last year, I have so much faith in them this year. Like, I think Oklahoma City is by far the team to beat in the Western Conference this year. I look at Chet Holmgren's continued development. I look at SGA breaking out into a true bona fide star. I look at Jalen Williams, who has the potential to take another leap. But more importantly, they got the complementary pieces you need come playoff time. Like, a guy like Alex Caruso is just made to win 16 games come playoff time. Like, going out and getting a quality big like Isaiah Hartenstein after, the Knicks just situation change with making the Bridges trade, like that allowed him to become available. Like we saw how valuable he was for that squad in the playoffs last year. It just feels like they filled out the roster finally. Like they got the playoff type hard-nosed vets that they were missing going into last year. And I think with that, and then just with the growth of their natural young core, how can you not feel good about this team? Like I truly believe they are the team to beat in the Western Conference, namely too, because just post Towns trade and post Denver just having to rely on, younger players more a little bit. And especially with KCP leaving, I'm just a bit higher on them than I am on the other squads usually. Like I feel like, the way the Eastern Conference, I still think Boston is the team to beat, but you can definitely talk me into like a team or two giving them a pretty strong run. I don't think anybody's close to OKC in the Western Conference. And maybe I'm off here right now, but that's just the way I feel going into the season.
I think Denver's close, but I don't feel that about any other team, really.
Yeah.
After that, it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, Denver's argument, right, is that you've got Jokic, who's arguably the best player in the world right now. I know Jamal Murray had a rough Olympics campaign, but you got that done.
But is Chet up to the challenge at that point? You know, can it
Yeah,
be a big man duo, and then can Hartenstein help out like that? I do feel like the Thunder have answers for the Nuggets in that department. And then I at that point, if they are able to slow up Jokic a little bit because you have two separate bodies to throw at him, I feel better about the Thunder's offense to be able to take up the slack from there with
yeah.
SGA and all that. So
It's
yeah,
the
I kind of feel
defense.
like they can.
It's the defense too, man. Like that's the biggest thing is it's like Jokic is going to get his. We don't doubt that, but I just think with Porter and with Murray now, when you put out a backcourt of, and they won't be guarding Porter as much, but when you have a defensive backcourt of Alex Caruso and Lou Dort, like you have the potential to put the other team's backcourt in prison for an entire game.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's where I just feel like they have the edge a little bit this year. You're right with Denver. And Denver, the reasons to believe is, again, Jamal Murray's contract is done, so you have to feel good about that, even post-Olympics campaign. If you're able to bring Aaron Gordon back and get that situation settled as well, I think that will bring them a lot of consistency. Denver's big question is Michael Porter Jr. Like, you just need Michael Porter Jr. to be a consistent number 2, number 3 option, be that max contract guy. He had too many points where they were just – he just vanished, frankly. He wasn't as nearly as good as he needed to be. And then it's about just replacing the guys they've lost. Like I think we saw they struggled a bit with that last year, and that's before they lost Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, another guy who's a huge reason I think that Orlando is going to win some more games next year. Like, we talk about OKC getting those 16-game players. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is 100% a 16-game player. So I think Denver is going to miss that for sure.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So I feel like that's the West for you. Who's going to be the most surprising team?
I think Sacramento will surprise people off the rip just because I think people will underestimate what they did with DeRozan. And I know there's the naysayers with that is that, Sacramento was kind of a bad defensive team last year, and going out and getting DeRozan doesn't really fix that. At the same time, like, who cares? Just go get buckets. Like, you also might just outrun teams every single game.
There's
DeRozan has
nothing to
proven
say about it.
yeah, and like they've needed a guy who can go and get his own shot late in playoff games. I thought it was a good job by Sacramento too, beating Golden State last year, like getting over that hurdle. Bringing Malik Monk back was huge for them. But it's just like everybody else loaded up, and I appreciate Sacramento also loading up, like making a play to go get DeRozan. I don't think they gave up a ton of note there. If Keegan Murray can continue to break out, I like this team a lot. Like I think they're going to be up there with the top dogs of the Western Conference. Dallas got to avoid the hangover. That's the biggest thing. And that's, I know that's not as much statistical information there, but I'm interested to see the Clay thing. I don't know how I feel about that. In theory, it should work, but like, I do think Clay is kind of washed. And so
As long as he can provide some shooting, I feel like it spaces it out a little bit more for Luka and Kyrie to do their drives. So I don't know. I've talked myself into it a little bit.
I'm not out of it necessarily, but I don't know. I need to, you're right. If he's able to be a spot up shooter, the defense is definitely lacking though. And I guess that's my concern as well. And my last memory of him is him scoring 0 points in a playoff game. So maybe I have a little bit of recency bias as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, either way, I think we've pretty much laid out how it's going to look. There's a lot of variation potential,
Mhm.
but I think for the most part, there's a bit more of a hierarchy here than there's been with a clear top dog, in my opinion. But I think like there's a lot of variation potential in the West, maybe that there hasn't been in a while. Because like Memphis is, again, we've said they're the wild card, but like you can talk me in Memphis from like any range from like 2 to 10 right now.
Mhm.
And it wouldn't surprise me. Like I don't remember the last time I had a team with that much variance. So you're right, though. I think the safe pick is probably Denver at this point, but we shall see. I'll always default to Jokic a little bit. All right, who's balling, who's falling? Our NBA version of the stock market. We always like to start with the good before the bad. So Justin, I will start with you. Who is balling this week?
Alex Sarr for the Washington Wizards, the second pick. Well, his summer league outing, he went 0 for 15. But then in the preseason, he went 6 for 8, 3 for 4 from 3 for 15 points in a This says dominating performance. I won't say that. In a decent performance of the first preseason game. So good for him for shaking off what was a rough summer league.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's a good takeaway for everybody is that you shouldn't just bury an entire player after they had a horrible summer league. Though 0 of 15 is still amazingly bad. That's just so incredible. But I like this pick for the Wiz. I thought he was there's an argument that Sarr could have gone one for me. I feel like he's one of the higher upside prospects that franchise has had in a while. So yeah, I mean, good for him for tuning out the noise a little bit, getting the work in between, summer league and now, and hopefully it translates. Like I would love to see him break out and kind of, it's tough when NBA Twitter's jumping on you right away. Like I feel bad for him in that
Well,
regard.
and that's how it happens most of the time, So
Yeah.
yeah, shout out to him.
All right. Ballin for me this week is Patrick Ewing, who is back as a franchise ambassador with the Knicks. Of course, Ewing's been coaching, among other things, since retiring from the NBA. He is the all-time leading scorer in Knicks history. He's going to be working with Tibbs in the front office. So, but needless to say, he is one of, if not the biggest icon in that franchise history. A time where the franchise has a lot to feel good about for once. And so, I think this is just more good vibes around the Knicks currently.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I like it. It's a good move and at a good time too for Carmelo selfishly. So, good for him. I think it's a lot of really good vibes happening in New York right now, which is terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite. I don't know if I'm at terrifying level yet. Like
I
they're
mean,
gonna be really good, but like I'm more terrified of Boston, to put it bluntly. If we're talking about the rosters right now,
that's fair. That's fair. I agree. So my Fallen is going to be what we already kind of referenced: the Clippers and PJ Tucker. They have mutually agreed for the vet to stay away from the team as the sides work towards a resolution for his future.
yeah. I mean, that's probably best because he's not playing right now. And last year it didn't go well once he was sent over there in the Harden deal. I don't know what that situation looks like. Like PJ Tucker's got a pretty tough contract right now, like relative to what he's playing. Like I'll always love PJ Tucker's game and have a soft spot for the career that he dug out. And even the year with Sixers, like I thought he played some really hard-nosed, great playoff minutes for us. But like that was what 2-3 years ago now, and he was borderline. He was a major offensive liability then, and he's only got 2 years older since then. And so it's tough. I don't really know what that solution looks like, whether that's buying it out of the contract and he tries to go play somewhere else on a vet min. It's clear, like we said, that he's not going to get rotation minutes for the squad right now. And maybe that changes and he decides to come back. But it's probably best for everybody to just avoid the distraction right away. And PJ's been a vet. Like he kind of he's earned that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So, you gotta do what you gotta do to get through it. But I'm sure a team that's like looking like they might need a little bit of defense, or veteran leadership may consider him.
Yeah, I just don't know where he's getting like consistent rotation minutes at this
Right, if that's
point.
what he's looking for.
That may be a tough ask. All right, falling for me this week is Derek Lively because he now owes Luka Doncic $100,000. They had a little bit of bet at training camp. They had some fans in there, and Luka was shooting full court jumpers, and Derek Lively bet him, and sure enough, Luka drained it. $100,000. Derek Lively's denying it on Twitter. I'm sure he is denying it on Twitter. I would be denying it too on Twitter, but yeah, either way, Mr. Lively's pockets are about to be a little bit lighter, it sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. You'd like to see that though, right? Before the season starts, like teams that seem to have some good chemistry, having some fun and potentially losing some cash.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, these guys will bet on a lot, so I'm not surprised they're betting on that.
So, should we spin to find out who we are working for next episode in our book reports?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we should. My bad. I was getting ready. I almost transitioned to Immaculate Grid there, but you're right.
Okay,
We should
we got it
spin
right
the wheel first. Because
right.
next episode we're going to talk Eastern Conference, so stay tuned for that.
You want to go first?
No, I went first last week. Let's you go first this week.
All right, spin the wheel. Give me someone good, baby.
All right, here we go. Can't wait for you to get Charlotte.
The Wizards?
Oh, not the Warriors.
Right on the corner there. All right. Should I spend it? You want me to do the Warriors?
I mean, I guess what's up. We got to respect the wheel, I guess. I
Okay.
just feel like a clown doing the Warriors. They don't need any more attention.
I don't know why they used orange for the Raptors here. It's sort of bothering me. But yeah, Portland Trailblazers too. Do they not have red? You have red right here with the Cavs. Why
We
would
got sandwiched between Portland and Washington, two teams that are going to stink and that we absolutely don't talk about. So we should probably preview. And they put you with the Warriors. That is evil.
I was worried I was getting the Wizards right there. That would have been karma for my hating on the Wizards. But all right, ready?
All right, here we go. If I get the Lakers, I swear to God, like
that would be hilarious. You're getting Golden State Wizards.
Dude, do I get the win? Hey, all right, there we go. I'm glad we're getting some love here. I was kind of, I don't know how you got that spin right around there twice. You were like really like Price is Right it or something.
Let's see. Hold on. Let's see if it's rigged. Let's just spin one more time and see what happens here. No? Okay. Yeah, that landed on Bucks. That was like on their side. So, all right.
It would have been bad if we got the Sixers too right there. That would have been real bad. But all right, no, that's good. We'll show some love to the Wiz next week. Let's show some love to Immaculate Grid right now. Again, you can always watch the Immaculate Grids on YouTube. Just search Driving Dish NBA Podcast for the podcast listeners. Of course, we will break it down for you. Our columns this week from left to right. We got the Rockets, we got the Hawks, and we got Hall of Fame. Our rows from top to bottom, we got the Nuggets, we got the Sixers, and we got the Nets. So, yeah, a few of these coming to mind right off rip. But Justin, I will start with you. Where do you think you want to go this week?
So, because we talked about him on last episode and he passed away, Dikembe Mutombo.
He does. If we can do Dikembe twice, listen, Dikembe deserves all the flowers in the world. RIP still to Dikembe Mutombo. He does work for Denver and Houston. He works for Houston and the Sixers as well. Might be a little lower on that front. Actually, he works for the Nets and the Rockets too. He works for all three of these now that I think about it.
I feel like Rockets Nets would probably be the
this is a Dikembe grid, honestly, because he works for Nets and Hawks too. He works for Nuggets and Hawks. He works for Sixers and Hawks. This is a grid, and he works for all the Hall of Famers. This is a grid of Dikembe Mutombo.
Can you imagine if we could put Dikembe in everything? Just the whole thing's Dikembe.
Oh my God, we should. Where do we think he's lowest? I feel like it's got to be Brooklyn Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Brooklyn Hall of Fame is.
Because he only played for the Nuggets, or the Nets for one
1%.
season. Yeah, 1%.
Wow, you're not even gonna have a picture?
Yeah, what happened? He had a picture last week. That's got to be like a little glitch right now. But
damn, dude, yeah.
All right, wow, that's crazy. The grid of Mutombo.
Back to Rockets, Denver. Carmelo Anthony works.
Carmelo Anthony works. Jeff Green works.
Jeff Green does work. DeMarcus Cousins, I feel like
he does work actually. Yeah, he played for Houston. He played for Denver really late.
Kenneth Faried.
Who was it?
Works.
Who did you say?
Kenneth Faried.
He might. I don't remember if he played for. I mean, obviously, I know he played for Denver. I
think he does.
Houston.
I'm fairly confident he played for Houston.
I would like Faried. Faried's a good one.
All right. I loved Kenneth Faried in NBA 2K.
Yeah, dude, he was so much fun. Like I remember he went to Morehead State, I believe.
They are.
And he was just like I remember watching.
There's no picture showing up. It's gotta be.
I guess we're glitching this week.
That's fine.
Yeah, so Faried, he played at Morehead State. Dude, he was so good in college. Like, he was one of those guys that just right away, you were like, yeah, that guy is going to the NBA. Like, what is he doing here right now?
Oh, my. All right, so which one do we want to do next? Rockets, 76ers?
I mean, there's a lot of options for a lot of these. If we want to do Rockets, Sixers, we can just work our way down. The main one, well, yeah, James Harden is one of the main ones.
KJ McDaniels.
Okay, I was going to say KJ McDaniels we've used before, but he does work there for sure, and it'll be low. Besides KJ McDaniels, Lou Williams, people forget he plays for the Rockets. I always find it's really low there for some reason. But Lou Williams works. Oh my God, who's the Charles Barkley works? He's another obvious one, but he's one of the bigger names that works there.
I think KJ McDaniels also works Rockets Nets.
I think he works Rockets Nets and he'd be lower there.
Okay.
I'm inclined to do that.
KJ McDaniels, what a 1.2%.
Yeah.
Um,
The lowest one that I've thought of Sixers Rockets so far, or another guy, this would be the lowest, but Covington works as well, of course.
oh, Covington would be a good one.
I kind of want to do Covington. Like Lou will be low there and lower than he would be for Sixers Hawks for sure. But
Do
I'm
we
also
have
just like,
do we have a potential Lou Will connect somewhere else that we might be able to utilize him?
no, he won't work for He won't work for Hawks. Hoggets. He won't work for Hawks Nuggets. And he never played for the Nets either.
Okay, hold on. We did talk about PJ Tucker works.
PJ Tucker does work for Sixers Rockets.
That'd be
Right.
kind of high, right?
I think PJ Tucker will be high. Yeah. He was on the Sixers relatively recently. He was pretty memorable with the Rockets. Know who else works? And this is probably like I'm digging in. This may have to be our answer just because he was a big process guy, but he started for us. Dude, James Anderson works. James Anderson played for the Rockets and then he played for the Sixers. He was like our starting two for most of the year in 2014. And I think that'll be pretty low.
So the other two that came to mind, which we might be able to use him for something else. I don't think he played for the Hawks though. Boban works.
He does. He might have played for the Hawks too, honestly.
I don't know if he played for the Hawks off the top of my head.
I'm not 100%, but that feels familiar. He definitely played for Houston for sure. He's there now.
The other one I'm thinking of is, didn't Kyle Lowry?
He did. Kyle Lowry started his career with Houston. That's a good one. He would be lower there. He did start his career with Houston, 100%.
So Kyle Lowry be an interesting one. Though he's on the Sixers now, I don't think people associate him with the Rockets.
They don't because he got his career started there. So it's up to you. We either go Lowry or James Anderson. James Anderson will be much lower, but Lowry, for the sake of
let's do Anderson because I don't even know. Like, I don't even remember where
James Anderson. I wonder if he spelled it weird.
No. Oh.
No. Yeah, 2011, 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
4. Holy hell.
Dude, yeah, he never obviously panned out. He was a peak process guy, but he was one of the process guys that like really got a lot of minutes. Like he was getting starters level minutes every single night.
So, all right. So next one is Hawks, Nuggets. Off the top of my head, Paul Millsap.
Yeah, that's probably the highest one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Man, I'm trying to think. That's a little like we mentioned Dikembe. Yeah, the grid of Dikembe.
Right there.
I'm trying to think. I don't think Jeff Green never played for the Rockets. Or not the Rockets, excuse me, the Hawks.
Gallinari did 6. He did like a bunch for Denver.
Gallo might have played for the Nuggets. You're right. Oh man, that might be it. Did Wilson Chandler ever play for the Hawks?
Dude, I don't know.
We could go Gallo. I mean, Gallo played for the Nuggets for a long time. Because he was in the Melo trade.
Yeah, he was in the Melo trade. I feel like the only two that are coming to my head are Millsap and Gallinari.
And Gallo's way lower than Millsap, obviously. Millsap, I think, is going to be the number one answer there.
So yeah, you want to go Gallo?
Yeah, I'm cool going Danilo Gallinari.
11.
Yeah.
Wow.
Damn. Okay. I mean, he played in Denver for a bit, and he was on Atlanta. I mean, he was on the conference finals team at Atlanta, so I feel like he'll get some love off that.
So Kyle Korver.
He works for Brooklyn too, right?
Yeah.
Actually, never mind. Brooklyn might have traded his rights to us. I know they did for the copying machine. I guess I don't remember if he ever went back there. I thought he might have late, but I feel like I'm getting that and the Bucks mixed up.
Lou Will does work here too.
Lou Will does work. Dwight Howard also works there.
Yeah. Did you say Dwight? Dwight Howard? Yeah. Dwight. Yep. Dwight works.
Does Thad Young work? Did Thad Young play for the Hawks?
I think Ilyasova works.
Ilyasova works and Evan Turner works too.
Oh, Evan Turner's a good one. Did Thiago Splitter ever play for us?
Dude, oh my goodness, he might have actually. I think he played for us for maybe like one game during the
He was
process.
he was such a niche guy for the Hawks that I
Oh
loved.
my god, that's so
Chicago
funny. Well,
Splitter.
he was with the Spurs for the longest time too. Like he was on
And
the
but
teams that
remember,
were playing.
he played good on the Spurs, and they traded him to the Hawks.
Dude, he did. I think he played for us. I have a memory of that now because I remember going Tiago because I just have Tiago, of course, had the block by LeBron in the finals. He had one of like LeBron met him at the rim. It was a big
Mhm.
turn for them in game 2 in that 2014 series. Um, I would do. We should go Tiago there. Tiago Splitter is gonna be low as hell.
Splitter. Dude, point
Nice, dude.
one.
0.1%. Beautiful. Yeah, because I mean, he spent the most of his career with the Spurs, and I think he went Hawks after. I'm gonna look this up. He was not with us for very long.
No, I don't think you were. So,
Okay, let's
all right, well,
see.
you're doing that. Hawks, Brooklyn, Dikembe, like we said, Vince Carter, Jason Terry,
Oh, Jason Terry, that's a good one.
right? Terry works there, right?
I think so. Tiago Splitter, by the way, 5 seasons with the Spurs. He played 36 games for the Hawks in 2015, 2016. He played just 8 games for the Sixers in 2016,
I love it.
2017.
I love it.
Um,
Jeremy Lin?
Jeremy Lin definitely works. Jason Terry definitely works. I know you just mentioned him a second ago, but Jason Terry definitely works for
Dennis
Brooklyn.
Schroeder works for
And
everything forever.
yeah, he really does.
Oh my.
Yeah, Dwight doesn't. Vince Carter's probably the most famous there.
Vince Carter's definitely the biggest.
Does Seth work there? Seth Curry? I know he played for Brooklyn. I don't remember if he played for Atlanta when he was like
would've
bouncing
worked
around.
Oh, maybe he wouldn't have worked. I was gonna say it would have worked for Sixers Nets, but that's not a connection.
Yeah. He definitely played for Brooklyn. I don't feel good enough about Seth. Oh, no who else works there that we've
Chris Humphries.
Chris Humphries does work there. You're 100% right. But we mention him all the time, I feel like in this before. So I almost don't want to use him there, but Damari Carroll works there.
Damari Carroll, the LeBron James stopper at the time.
Among the many. Yeah. Know who else works there too? Torian Prince, he plays with LeBron right now. He started his career in Atlanta and then he was on Brooklyn for a little bit.
Well, who do you want to roll with?
I kind of want to go Jason Terry. I feel like he was in the league for a long time, and that's just like better. Like Humphreys will score lower, but we just used him last week. I like switching it up a little bit in that regard.
2% is still
I'm cool. Yeah, and that's great. I'm real happy with 2%. All right, Denver and the Sixers Hall of Fame. I know a lot more for the Sixers than I do for Denver, obviously. The Hall of Famers for Denver that come to mind outside of Dikembe Mutombo are Alex English, who is like the OG Nuggets legend. Iverson would work there for Hall of Fame.
I bet that's low because everyone goes Iverson with the other one.
Yeah, but the Sixers have a lot. The other one, dude, I think Chauncey Billups, I'm pretty sure is in the Hall of Fame now, right?
I don't know.
I think Chauncey Billups made the Hall of Fame.
Chauncey.
If Chauncey made the Hall of Fame, he would definitely work for Denver. I think he'd be a little lower.
Yeah, Allen Iverson. I always
because Melo's not in the Hall of Fame yet.
No, not yet.
I don't think yeah, no, that's really all I can think. It's just those 3 that come to mind off the top.
You gonna go Chauncey then?
I think Chauncey's gonna be the lowest, yeah, because I mean Alex English is a boomer guy, but it's definitely like one of the more iconic players in franchise history.
5%. So
all right, 6. So Sixers, you got Iverson, you got Barkley, you got Julius Erving, you got Moses Malone, you got Wilt, you got Hal Greer, you got there's gotta be more. You got Chris Webber. Chris Webber would be a sneaky low one, maybe.
Yeah.
Hal
Greer?
Yeah, Hal Greer is their all-time leading scorer. He was big in the 60s and 70s. I think like Billy Cunningham is in the Hall of Fame, I think. He would make it for us. I think I'm trying to remember if Andrew Toney's in the Hall of Fame. I'm pretty sure he would make it for us as well. I don't know. We should go Billy Cunningham. We haven't used him ever. He's a boomer Sixers legend, so I think he'll be low.
Billy?
Yeah, Billy Cunningham. He was on the team that won in 67 with
Did
Will.
Chris Webber ever play for us?
No, he did. Yeah, Chris Webber definitely played for us.
Already? Okay.
Yeah, he played for us. He was in the Iverson years. He would have been my second. Chris Webber would have been my second pick because people don't associate him with us.
That's what I was thinking. That is, as I couldn't remember for some reason. So
no, yeah, he played during the Iverson years.
Yeah. All right, Billy.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's close it out.
Top it off at a rarity score of 25.
No, 25, not 23. Yeah, 14 for Denver. Wow.
You want me to look it up? Let's see.
Yeah, I'm curious.
For Denver, although I don't think this is going to show it the way I want.
Oh, does it just give you the blanket list of Hall of Famers?
Spencer Haywood, Larry Brown, Bobby Jones, David Thompson, George McGinnis, Alex English, Walter Davis, Dikembe, Tim Hardaway, Iverson, Chauncey Billups. So yeah, we pretty much named them all. We pretty much had them all there.
Yeah. At least the main ones for sure.
76ers is wild though.
There's a bunch, man.
Oh, Kukoc would have worked. We should have done that.
Would have. You're right. I mean, how many? 24. How many? I want to see how many of these I can name real quick without getting thinking. So we have Kukoc, which you gave away. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry.
Chris Webber, Billy Cunningham, Will Chamberlain.
On Billy. He's on here. Where is?
Well, he worked. Yeah, he definitely is on there.
Yep. I'll just marking him off as you go.
Yeah. Chris Webber.
Yep.
Will Chamberlain.
Wilt is on here. Yep.
Julius Erving.
Yep.
Moses Malone.
Yep.
Dikembe Mutombo.
Dikembe, I saw him. Yep.
Allen Iverson.
Yep.
Charles Barkley.
Yep.
Did I say Hal Greer?
Hal Greer, nope, but he's on here.
10 and 24.
Yeah.
Lord. Did I say Barkley?
You did say Barkley, yep.
Is Joe Fulks on this list?
Joe Fulks is not on this list.
Oh, he played for the Philly Warriors then.
You want me to start naming some?
Yeah, I'm trying to we got through
George Yardley.
Oh yeah, I would never got George Yardley.
Larry Costello.
Oh, Larry Brown is one for us if he's in as a coach.
Larry Brown. Nope. No, I think this is just players. Alex Hannum. Al Servey.
Mm-hmm.
Earl Lloyd.
Mm-hmm.
Dolph Shays.
Oh, Dolph Shays is a good one. He's a legend.
Dick
Dolph
Barnett.
Shays won in Syracuse, I believe, with the Nationals way back.
Dick Barnett.
Yeah, he did. Dolph Shays did win with the Nationals in 55.
Chet Walker.
Oh, Chet Walker's a good one.
Bailey Howell.
Okay.
Doug Collins.
Oh, Dougie Collins is a player. That's right.
George McGinnis.
Yeah, George McGinnis is a good one. I forgot he played for us too.
Did you say Bobby Jones? I feel like you said Bobby Jones.
I didn't. I said Andrew Toney.
This one's going to get Maurice Cheeks.
Yeah, I should have said Mo. Yeah, that's bad.
Yep.
Mo was on the 83 team.
And then Bob McAdoo.
Yep. Oh, McAdoo played for us?
McAdoo played for us 85, 86.
Oh, there you go. I didn't know that. Good for him.
9 games.
Yeah, hey, whatever. It's on the list. All right, should we scroll down? Who do we got for most popular in each one?
Yeah, hold on.
All right, so I'd love how it glitched on here too. All right, so for Nuggets and Rockets, Carmelo Anthony, who I think was the first guy you mentioned there. Nuggets and Hawks was Dikembe Mutombo, so that's where he was fitting in the most often. Allen Iverson actually the most popular for the Nuggets, so plot twist because the Sixers got so many options.
Yeah, people tried to get fancy with it.
They're cute. For Sixers Rockets, James Harden. For Sixers Hawks, Al Horford. Wow, we didn't even say that. Al Horford definitely would have worked there. You're right.
Trying to pretend Al never played for the 70s.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. Julius Erving for the Sixers and Hall of Fame. James Harden also #1 for Nets and Rockets. Vince Carter #1 for Nets and Hawks, and Jason Kidd #1 for Nets and Hall of Fame. That's that's crazy. We didn't mention Jason Kidd at all.
Big Kid at all. Nope.
We got Mutombo so fast that it was yeah, you're right. Because I mean, that Steve Nash would have worked there too, or no, Nash was a coach.
We realized Mutombo worked for every single square.
Yeah, got us off track here real quick. Thank you everybody for listening to this episode of the Driving Dish NBA podcast. We appreciate you guys as always. We hope Hurricane Milton goes off track in Florida. So thoughts to everybody down there, of course. Leave us a review on iTunes. Go to Rattle, read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, anywhere you can find your podcast, you can find us. We'll be back next week, or next episode, I should say, with the Eastern Conference preview. So stay tuned for that.
Oh my gosh, sorry, I'm dying over here. And you can subscribe on YouTube, find Drive and Dish NBA there. Obviously got video versions of it. You can watch along with the Immaculate Grids or just listen to the whole podcast on that platform. Search Drive and Dish NBA. You can subscribe and you'll get notifications when new episodes come out.